I feel like even if you're an educator, you have to understand that you can learn from everyone and anyone. And if you're naturally curious, you're not going to want to stop learning things.
Now we making moves.
All right, guys, this is Industry Standards with Rachel and Shannon, and I am Rachel. My Instagram handle is at It's Rachel Paget, and I'm based in Toronto. As you guys know, I'm a mobile hairstylist here, and just, enjoying my day.
I'm Shannon McIntyre. You can find me on Instagram at Love the Barber. You can find my barbershop at Future Fade Barbershop on Instagram or futurefade.com. Future Fade is a brand new, super awesome barbershop in Vancouver. I'm also an educator, and I can teach you how to give the best hot towel shave you have ever given in your entire life. I specialize in fades, shave, facial hair, anything barbering. Do it. Morgan, introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Morgan. I'm a hairstylist based here in Toronto, and I have just launched or created a bridal hair accessories line, and we debuted for the first time at Canada's Bridal Show last weekend, and I just can't wait to chat with both Shannon and Rachel, all things industry, because I've spent over 20 years in the wonderful industry of hair.
Perfect. So that actually leads us to our first question. How did you get started doing hair, Morgan?
So good question. I got started the same time as I did hair school, the same time as high school. Growing up in Winnipeg, my school division had an affiliation with a technical college. So for grades 11 and 12, I would do like math, science, English in the morning, and then get on a bus, go down to the technical college, where for 2 years I did hairdressing, where you had models come in, and it was everything. Like, I think Manitoba has one of the, you have to have more hours than a lot of other provinces. So it was where you were learning how to do a million finger waves, and I don't even know if I learned how to cut hair, but it was a basic like hairdressing program. And I'd say the summer going into grade 12, like from grade 11 to grade 12, I started assisting in the first hair salon that I ever worked in, and I still have a great relationship with them. And I just really fell in love with the world of hair, and I love hairdressers.
They're really cool, honestly.
Yeah, they're fun. Like, hairdressers are fun people to be around.
Like when you walk into like a bar or a restaurant with a group of hairdressers, everybody's like, "Who are they?"
Oh yeah, hairstylist.
Yeah, awesome.
I was like, there's that one Drake song where he says, like, everyone fucks with you, and then he's like, and the badass girls doing hair makeup fuck with you, and like I can't remember what I'll find the song. I'll link it over. I like when he says that.
It's true though. Now, can you talk to us about your experience? Well, how we all kind of fit together is Morgan was actually my educator when I was in the Aveda Academy. He was my cutting educator. So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about your experiences being an Aveda educator for many years as well?
Absolutely. So how I ended up getting into education is I was one of those people that understood hairdressing really quickly. I'm not natural at a lot of things. Like, don't ask me to cook anything, but my hands naturally understood how to do hair. So even when I was at that technical college, like I just mentioned, I grasped the concept of finger waves really quickly. And so I started showing sort of the rest of, my friends at school. And then when I moved to Toronto in 2003, I worked at Aveda Institute, where they have an intense training program. It took about, I guess, a little under 2 years to get on the floor and start teaching. But I think at that salon, it's just very ingrained that once you know how to do something, you pass on that knowledge. And then when I had the opportunity to go work for Ray Chiavello through Aveda, and they suggested that I would be a teacher, I was like, yeah, it felt like a natural fit. And initially I was really thrown into stuff. And I remember Ray saying to me, it's not a challenge, it's an opportunity. And I ended up working at the school for 15 years. And I will say, like, of that experience, there were so many opportunities. I was a part of the Aveda Canada creative team, where we traveled globally to do hair shows. And, you know, like you said, you go into a bar with a bunch of hairdressers, it's a good time. Well, when you get to travel for a show team, like we would joke and tease and say that we were a band, and people would believe us. And we had a name, like we were Jalouse, and people thought this was a thing. And then just like across the country, I would be able to travel across Canada to teach. I think one of the biggest things that I was asked to do, or given the opportunity to do, was to be a part of the Aveda curriculum, the Learn Aveda, which is used globally. And, you know, like there are times where I pitch myself where I'm like, you know, I'm just a gal from Winnipeg. And then just before the new year, Frank Raziri, who has salons in New Jersey and Philadelphia, he's asked for me to be a part of his cutting curriculum. So I think I'm kind of good at cutting hair. And I've also been privileged, though, by working in a school. It's an education hub. So there was a lot of guest educators that would come into the school that I would learn from. So, and then even when I was there, I would have institute students. Like I remember one of my students learning how to flat iron curl before flat ironing curling was a thing. And I was like, show me how to do that. Where I feel like even if you're an educator, you have to understand that you can learn from everyone and anyone. And if you're naturally curious, you're not going to want to stop learning things.
Awesome. Why Jalouse?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think we were trying to be French. I don't know. Jalouse, and then it morphed into Jalouf.
Jaloux.
Yeah.
Like that's the version I heard of it.
Yeah, it morphed. It's that team. We were together I've worked for Ray for 17 years, and so we were together for probably a good 10. So, you know, like anything, it morphs.
And the band broke up, guys.
No, we have solo tours. That's what we say. But we'll always do a comeback at some point.
That's awesome.
One of my friends and I are in a pretend band called Rhombus. I mean, I'm also in like real bands, but my friend and I are in a pretend band called Rhombus.
I love that you're also in a fake band. But I love more that you're in a real band. That actually sounds cool, whereas my fake band was, I said that I played the tambourine.
I was going to say the triangle.
Yeah, no, tambourine, because I feel like I could do this motion, like shaking your
tambourine is pretty important, actually.
Yeah.
I'm picturing you look like Foxy Cleopatra, but like as yourself. Like, and
Thank you. Yeah. And like I would sing up like backup lyrics, but mine would be like really lame. That would be my role in the band. Yeah.
That's amazing.
The tambourine backup they usually say words. Anyway, so you've specialized in hair cutting, right?
Yes.
I also just like I know how to do color and I do a lot of other things, but what I do day in and day out is also I just cut and cutting. So people always ask me why I do just cuts. And so I'm going to ask you, why do you do just haircuts?
I cut and I style hair. And so when I say style hair, that could be New York Fashion Week, to be on set, hair shows, bridal hair. I just don't apply hair color or perm, really anything with chemicals. So why do I specialize? I think I specialize just because it's nice to remain in one discipline.
Right.
I'm a believer that it's almost like the more you learn about something, the more you understand that there's still so much more to know. So when I'm cutting hair, I still get excited about it. And every single client that I have, you can take a new approach or the same approach and apply the principles of deliberate practice, where I'm trying stuff over and over, but I'm getting feedback from them and try to improve and get better. I think why hair cutting is also it's automatic. You see a change right away. I've never been someone that likes to do something and then wait 30 minutes for it to develop.
Right.
Yeah, so that hairstyling, it's like you are molding the hair, and granted, sometimes you have to tell the person that you're doing it on, just be patient. This looks really terrible right this second, but like give me a moment and it'll turn into something. And not to say that there aren't generalists out there that are really good or good enough at a lot of things. It just it never appealed to me. Hair color, frankly, it kind of makes me nervous, where it's like, oh, you gotta watch it, and then all these things. And I like wearing nice clothes and having a manicure that doesn't get wrecked by hair color.
Actually, on the note of inspirations and hair shows, like, I know what a creative person you are. Where do you like find inspiration for the work that you do and all the amazing creations I've seen you do?
I think first and foremost, usually from fashion. As a young girl, I would try to watch fashion television. And so I've always loved fashion. I find it fascinating. But also I love glamour. Like as a young girl, I wanted to be Vanna White because I loved how glamorous she was. And inspiration. I think lately, because I have started a new business, I've been most inspired by people that I find successful. So looking at other hairdressers that are like killing it, I look at their stuff and I sort of think, oh, what's interesting. And I think like I've done NAHA awards before, like the North American Hairdressing Awards. And I would say my inspiration is always a little bit strategic, where I have a tendency to sort of like look at what is the niche that I'm part of. And if there's a competition, I want to win, just because I'm naturally competitive. And so, but like for my true self, like where my inspiration comes from, old Hollywood, fashion, and glamour.
Makes sense. I love that.
I like that. So your bridal line, elaborate on that. Tell us how it started, where you're going with it.
Drop it.
Morgan Roy Bridal began stemming out of the pandemic when we all couldn't work. I decided through the support of one of my first institute students, but one of my dearest friends, Charisse, who has a salon in St. Jacobs, which isn't far from here. We were sort of talking business, and I had already had my YouTube channel. And I was like, I was thinking maybe I could get into selling clips and combs and things like that. And she was like, yes, just do it. And so I started doing that. And then I really started thinking about a need, or I'm like, what do I actually need? And I thought of when I got married. I thought of when I do bridal hair. And I recognized that there was never anything that I liked the look of. And the brides whose hair I was doing, they didn't like it either. Like sometimes you just need this small little, pearl or diamond just to catch the light, so that all of a sudden your hairstyle goes from, you could wear to a formal event to all of a sudden like you have been completely changed into that icon, like the ones that I would look up to. and you now have like a full bridal aesthetic. And so I just started like looking at bridal because it had been a while. Again, I do hair cutting, and the bridal that I would do, it sounds terrible. There's like a certain kind of like Pinteresty kind of hair that I'm not good at because I just don't understand it. I'm like, where does this come from? Like, it's not fashion. It's just like this weird, it's almost like the North American Hairdressing Awards. Like it's its own niche. And so, pardon?
Suburban. It comes from suburbia.
So, and then also all of the advertising looked like us. Blondes with straight hair that was curled. And I thought, well, this isn't great for representation. Like, I've got so many friends of different hair types, different ethnicities, and why should they not see themselves in bridal? And so when I started the bridal line, I basically asked my friends. So all of the images that I have currently, those are all of my friends. We shot in my party room with my favorite photographer, Natasha Gershon. And it was when we were allowed to have 5 people or less. And so like, I'm wearing a mask. The only time I'm not wearing a mask was us to eat lunch outside. And so it was to create something that, that like there would be representation of everybody, especially all different hair types. And then the quality of the product, I wanted to eliminate sort of all of the confusion and all of the choices, because like when people get married, there's a lot of decisions you have to make, and decision fatigue is a legit thing. So I sort of looked at, pearls have totally come back. I don't know if they ever went away, but pearl core being a thing. And then doing research on diamonds and what looks most like a diamond, I landed on cubic zirconia. So I have 18 pieces, and split down the middle is pearl and the other half is cubic zirconia. And it's really designed to be mixed, matched, separated, pulled apart, but just to give that bride that little extra something special, the finishing touch at the end of the bridal hairstyle.
Awesome.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
When I got my hair done for my wedding, Grant was like, "What are you gonna do?" He wanted to do trials. I was like, "I'm not doing a trial." No. And the morning of my wedding, I just was like so hungover, and I was like this, and he's like, "Okay." I was like, "Just do it in 20 minutes. I'm gonna close my eyes. I really don't care."
When you woke up,
what did he do?
Because he put it. What did he do? He put it like it was like big. It had like a swirl. I just wanted it pinned up and kind of curly, and then I had the veil thing coming out the back. My friend made it. It looked amazing. I'm just like, it's gonna be curled and pinned up, so I know it'll look nice. And I'm just like that type. And Grant, he works for Aveda, and he's a wonderful hairstylist, and he has been a friend of mine forever. And I know that he's just gonna do a really nice job. How did you do your hair when you got married?
I got married in Las Vegas, and my hair was long, like as long as Rachel's hair.
Right.
And what did I do? I think I just like kind of smoothed it out, curled it, I wore it down. I was wearing white pants with a white blazer.
I also got married in a pants and a blazer.
Yeah, it's kind of like an awesome outfit to wear.
Yeah, and then we did a reception after, and I wore a little pink dress.
Ooh. See, we didn't do a reception because for my husband and I, it was our second weddings.
Right.
So my first wedding, I wore extensions. I curled every single piece of hair, and I had flowers in my hair instead of no baby's breath. I forget. Probably had I think I had an orchid or something. It was a little tropical themed. I don't know. I was very young. I tell people don't get married before you're 30, and yeah, I learned. Anyway.
What if you met someone before they're 30?
Say that again.
What if you marry someone before they're 30? but you're already past 30.
Listen, you do you. Ultimately. Well,
I mean, my wedding hair is going to be done by Michael Brick, and I'm going to look like I just rolled around with Tommy Lee.
that sounds like a wonderful hairstyle. I would like to be at that wedding if it's possible.
You guys will both be there, so.
Yeah, you guys can come to my second wedding.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay.
I think the thing, like, why ultimately I'm doing the bridal stuff is I love love. Like, I'm a sucker that way. And when you get to be a part of someone's special day as a fly on the wall, but just to help them, like, I love making women look and feel like a total babe. And for a lot of women, that time down the aisle is like their runway that in life, like how a model walks down a runway, when that woman is walking down the aisle, that's her runway. So the idea of her looking and feeling confident and gorgeous, I love being a part of that and giving that. And then to create something that I know is not going to fall off someone's head makes me feel even more special, and also empowers other hairdressers, because, you know, if like Rachel and I, we did do a bridal party together, and heaven forbid anything fell off someone's head, I think she and I would have felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like people, when they get married, they need and like deserve someone who is competent, who can, you know. I feel like bridal hair is one of those things that people assume is going to be this like terrible nightmare and like bridal and stuff. But I've never, in my experience doing bridal hair, I've never really found that.
No, I think that's just media, you know, like,
right.
It's fun to watch a movie where the bride freaks out.
Right.
It's never the bride. Anytime I've had somebody freak out, it's always a bridesmaid.
Right.
Yeah.
The bride
Yeah.
always. The bride's always
Just
taking the hair early.
you, sweetheart.
And the bigger the bridal party, the less support the bride gets.
Yeah, it's so
Right.
true. It's so
So I'm
true.
always like, don't go more than 3. You're fine. When it's like 8, 10, I'm like, they're ditching you. You're officially no longer the center of anyone's attention.
It's so true.
I feel like that could be a whole other episode of like things that you hear when you're doing bridal hair.
Oh,
Right.
That's another episode.
Right.
What you guys were just talking about, you know how it is with hair, how like as you keep doing hair, you learn, like we've been talking about. The first bride I ever did, her awful. She was walking down the aisle and I was watching it happen. It was awful. It was my best friend's brother, friend Jackie's brother's wife. And I was like, ah! And it was literally being live streamed in Scotland. I was like, oh my God. Everybody knew I did the hair. And like, I was like, don't worry, I danced my whole life. I'm going to put like 20,000 pins in, but I didn't anchor it properly. But I'll never make that mistake again.
Well, that's how
Right.
we learn, right? You either get it right or you learn something. So
But like literally, my friend's mom was chasing the bride down the aisle and like shoving it. And I was like, Earth, please open up and swallow me whole. It was the worst. Yeah.
well, to any of your followers or anyone that is listening to this and they do a lot of bridal hair, please connect with me, because I am doing an affiliate program where your bride, if she purchases, will get 20% off and you'll make 30% of the sale. So in a recession economy like we all are, I think it's important to also give hairdressers opportunities to make a little more money behind the chair.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
DM you, is that what the preferred method of contact is?
Or email me at Morgan. Geez, I don't even know my own email. Can you tell us the end of the day? Morgan at morgan-roy.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. It was wonderful to chat with you gals. I feel like I could talk to you all night.
I know. Next time we'll get a bottle of wine.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
just say that. We'll turn the recording off
Yeah.
and like let's get drunk.
Oh, all right. Well, have a great night, Morgan.
thanks. Same to you.
and I'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.